Here we go. Gina, I don't know if it's Gina or I'm pronouncing your name right because we have two Ginas today. I'm going to promote you to a panelist. Gina, I'm not sure. And then we can get started. Welcome, ladies. Oh my goodness, it's been a while. I think the last masterclass I did was back in January or February. And it was, for those of you who know me, it was the 9-day hormone class, which I'm not doing anymore. So this is the first time I do a brand new class, completely different subject matter, but kind of related, in almost 3 years. So I'm very excited to be here with all of you and very excited to talk about something that I know is something that affects not just every single woman, but every single human, which is emotional eating. So welcome, welcome. Put on your cameras, ladies. I want to be able just to say hello to you before we start. You can keep your cameras on. The only thing I'm going to ask you to do is just mute yourselves in case you have background noise. Otherwise, please join me by turning on your video so I can see your faces, and comment in the chat box. Let me know where you're watching from. If you're watching, I think most of you are in Cairo, but we do have somebody from Istanbul. We do have ladies from around the world. Let me know where you're watching from. And then also let me know, what are you most excited to learn about today? What is the thing you most want to know about emotional eating? How to get rid of it? Can we get rid of it? Like, what is it exactly that you're most excited to learn today? Here we go. Hi, Amina, joining from Cairo. Hello. Marwa is in Bahrain. Sara is in Cairo. Nihal, I am in Tunis and having iftar right now. So sorry for that. Bilhana wa shifa, Nihal. Reem just boarded a plane from Jeddah to Cairo. Maryam is in Canada. Welcome, welcome. Maryam, you can also join us, please, as a panelist. Yasmin, join us as a panelist. Welcome, ladies. There are so many of you that I know, and there are quite a few of you that are completely new to me. So I'm very keen to get to know you all a little bit better today, and to get to know, what are your deepest worries and concerns, and what are your deepest frustrations when it comes to emotional eating. For those of you who are completely new and don't know me, I'm Dana Danawi, and I'm the hormone coach, and I help women resolve, reduce, reverse completely any uncomfortable hormonal symptoms that you may have. And I help you do that 100% naturally, just using nutrition and just using lifestyle design. So I don't use any funny pills. I don't do hormone replacement therapy. I don't do any of that. If you are interested in completely being symptom-free, that's what I help you do. And what I've noticed in the past few years, while I was focusing on women's hormones and focusing on helping women get rid of night sweats and hot flashes and migraines and constant fatigue and painful periods and irregular periods and autoimmune conditions, and that there's always this nagging thing, I'm going to call it a nagging thing in the back, which is emotional eating, that no matter what we do, no matter how, we let's say attack, or we get on something really powerfully in terms of physical symptoms, if we don't address the emotional side of this, if we don't address your emotions, if we don't address the state of your mind, if we don't address what's happening around you, your relationships, your career, your passion, I can give you the best plan in the world, and you can literally eat all the broccoli and lettuce in the world, and it's not going to work, because your health is not just about what you have on your plate, and it's not just about your emotional health. You might, as you go through your healing journey, at one point or another, focus a little bit more on the physical, and then maybe you might need to focus a little bit more on the emotional at different points in time. But at some point, you're going to have to look at them equally. Sometimes you are exposed to them at the same time. Emotional, I don't want to call it distress, but things that really take over your life. At the same time, you're also going through a lot of physical discomfort. So we have to look at them at the same time. But at no point can you expect to be fully healthy if you're only focused on the physical, and you're ignoring that you're sad, or you're tired, or you're bored, or you're resentful, or you have no joy in your life. And then you wonder why you're not really getting healthy. right? You're wondering why you really don't have any energy, even though, I'm following all of Dana's instructions and I'm drinking the smoothie in the morning and I'm having my salad, but something is not quite right, because your emotions are just as important for your health, and they run your body. They can fuel your body in exactly the same way that food can fuel your body, or they can create imbalance in your body in exactly the same way that the wrong foods can create imbalance in your body. So we have to look at them together. So, and when you do my programs, we do look at the physical and we do look at the emotional. So what I want to talk to you today specifically about is the emotional, because I see women just looping like in circles. There's vicious circles where they go from one diet to the next, to the next, to the next, because that's what you've been taught to do, right? That health is about a number on a scale, and that your health is about reaching a certain number on a scale. So you literally just use force and willpower to get you through a diet. And diets ignore what's happening up here. They ignore what's happening in your emotional state. They ignore what's happening in your life, and basically just require you to power through a plan that doesn't take your emotional state into mind. And if we're talking about conventional diets, really also doesn't take your biochemical addictions into consideration at all. So at some point you reach a breaking point. At some point on a traditional diet, you power through, push through until you can't. And it feels like you give up, you give in, and you keep telling yourself over and over again, well, there's another diet that failed. I don't have any willpower. I can't do it. Everybody else can do it except me. I'm a failure. And you blame willpower. Basically, you blame yourself for the failure, not realizing that all of these other quiet forces at play in your body that are actually in charge of the day. So I know that you've tried a lot of things, and I know that you're frustrated. And if you're here, it's because you want to find a solution once and for all. And I hear you and I understand you. So welcome again to this class. Like I said, my goal for you in this class is for you to first, because all we have is 90 minutes together. So in these 90 minutes, I want you to understand how and why emotional eating happens, right? The emotional triggers, as well as the nutritional pieces involved. It's a puzzle that fits together, so that you can start to be free of the complexity and the confusion and the overwhelm of all the different theories out there, whether they're theories that tell you just stop eating when you're sad, just stop eating when you're angry, just stop eating when you're hungry, like whatever conflicting, really overwhelming, frustrating advice that just hasn't worked for you. I'm going to try and simplify all of that for you today. We only have a short time together. I'm going to try and cover as much as I can in our time together. And I know that some of you here, because I know some of you personally, are also high achievers. So I promise that by the end of the class, I will let you know how you can get additional support and help to take back control of your cravings and your life and your health and all of that. And we'll also have a Q&A at the end. So if I can ask you, please, unless I specifically ask you to share something in the chat, please hold all your questions for me and make sure you're muted until we get to the end of the class. All right. So who is with me, ladies? Type yes in the comments. Here's your first chance. Type yes in the comments if you are with me, ready to understand and ready to see how you can reduce your emotional eating naturally. Type yes in the comments, and somebody's not muted. I can hear a phone. If somebody can just mute themselves, please. And everybody says yes, yes, yes. Amazing. Marwa says yes. Delia says yes. Hi, Delia. Nihal says yes. Farah says yes. Sarah says yes. Gina says yes. Maryam says yes. Another Sarah says yes. And Perry's here, says yes. Sarah says yes. Randa, yes. Sherry, yes. Hannah, yes. Amazing. So I just want to let these other ladies in. Ladies, Caroline, Amani, Mary, if you can just rejoin as panelists, that would be wonderful. I'm going to give them a second to come on because we're going to do a little exercise together, ladies. As soon as these ladies come on, just give them a second. We are going to go through, I'm going to walk you through an exercise. All right. Take a deep breath for me, ladies. Super, super deep breath. If you have been running around since iftar time or generally running around, today is Sham al-Nasim. Kul sana wa antum tayyibin. Everybody in Egypt celebrating Sham al-Nasim. Anybody celebrating Ramadan, those of you who celebrated Easter yesterday, Kul sana wa antum tayyibin. I want you to take a deep breath, because as a mom, wife, sister, daughter, all of the above, you've been running around a lot. You've been running around, taking care of everybody, doing everything for everybody, making sure everybody's fed and comfortable and at ease and feeling good. Maybe you just haven't been getting enough support and care for yourself. So a big part of what this class is for you today, also beyond the learning, is for you to experience what it's like for you to be in a space where, for a change, you get to receive. You get to be here today to receive, to be in community and to get support and to get guidance and to have all your questions answered. So I want you to take a really, really, really deep breath for me so that we can start to bring our nervous systems down. Calm down a little bit. Deep breath in and slowly release it. Another deep breath in. Slowly release it and close your eyes. Take one more really deep breath in. And close your eyes for the exercise we're going to do together. You need to have your eyes closed, ladies. Eyes closed, sit comfortably, make sure you're relaxed. All right. I want you to imagine this with me. It's 9 p.m. on a regular day, so not necessarily Ramadan or holidays, on a regular day. It's 9 p.m. Your kids are finally asleep, or at least quiet, keeping themselves busy in their rooms, studying, PlayStation, chatting with their friends. You finished dinner time. If you have small children, you finished bath time. School-age children, college-age kids, maybe they finished homework, maybe they're independent and doing their homework. You've cooked, you've cleaned, you've prepped for the next day. Finally, you get to take off your clothes. Maybe you took a bath and you put on your pajamas. And for many of you, your husband might still be at work, watching TV, out with his friends, or he might even be asleep already. So you kind of walk around the house and tell yourself, well, now what? Now what? I've been so good all day. I've been really good all day. I even managed to avoid that croissant and dessert when I went to have coffee with my friends. And when they ordered takeout at the office, I didn't eat that KFC. I took out my little salad that I had packed this morning, this tiny salad without any oil. And I had half a cup of rice and one piece of a boiled chicken for lunch. And then I had a single fruit and my Greek yogurt for dinner. I was really good. I did exactly what that diet plan hung up on my fridge told me to do today. And I didn't even have that leftover bite, even though it was such a tiny, tiny, tiny bite. I didn't even have that one tiny bite of a cheese sandwich that my son left behind on his plate, even though I was dying to. But I kept telling myself, it's such a small bite, such a small bite. I shouldn't throw bread away. And what difference would this make? But still, you threw it out and you were very, very good. But now what? Now it's really quiet. Now everybody's really busy and you have nothing to do. And you're not sleepy yet. Bedtime is still a few hours away. You really don't know what to do with yourself. So you pick up your phone, you scroll through Facebook, scroll through Instagram, same news, same posts, Nothing to really inspire you. If your husband's home, you go and sit next to him to watch some TV, but he's watching soccer or a show that you just honestly can't imagine how anybody can sit through. So you get up because, your husband wasn't paying much attention to you anyway, and you continue to wander around the house. Maybe you pick up a few more stray shoes, some socks, a book. You wander back into the kitchen, watch some plates, maybe unload the dishwasher. And as you're putting away plates, cutlery, leftover food, you think to yourself, I'm tired. I'm really tired. And I'm bored. And I'm fed up. And I'm bored of my routine. Every single day, the same thing. Day in, day out. And as you're thinking this to yourself, you just absentmindedly open the fridge. You're like, am I really hungry? But the cheese that you used to make your son's sandwich earlier is right there on the shelf in front of you, right next to the bread. Without even thinking, and maybe even with a small, oh well, you take them out and you decide you're going to make a small sandwich, a really, really small one. And you tell yourself, tomorrow, I'm back on my diet. So you cut the cheese and you place it between the bread and you pop it into the microwave and you listen to the cheese as it sizzles and melts. And then you remember at the last minute that a cucumber would go perfectly with the melted cheese. So you take the sandwich out of the microwave, and as you wait for it to cool, you wash and chop the cucumber. And you can smell that familiar aroma of the cheese mixed with the bread, and the scent calms you down and fills you with more excitement than you've had the whole past week. And you didn't even realize that you needed calming down, or that you actually hadn't had any excitement in so long. You don't even sit to eat. You take a bite of the sandwich, standing at your kitchen counter, relishing the moment of solitude and pure joy and comfort this sandwich gives you. And even as it calms you, your heart beats a little bit faster at how good it is. Take another bite and another, stuffing the cucumber in between so you get that perfect mix of tastes. It feels really good and it tastes really good and you feel really good. So good, you want another one. So you tell yourself, you know what? I've had one already. What difference will having another one make? What's done is done. And the bread and cheese are still on the counter anyway. You never put them back. So you make another sandwich and relish the same sensations all over again. You feel so much better, happy even. But just as quickly, the guilt sets in. You put everything back in the fridge and look around quickly. Did somebody see that I broke my diet? Okay. Tomorrow, you tell yourself. Tomorrow, I'm back on track. Open your eyes, ladies. Does this sound familiar? It could be the cheese sandwich, it could be the chocolate, it could be chips for you. Insert whatever it is for you, but who can relate to this? Let me know in the chat. Who can relate to this scenario? Mona, very familiar. Marwa, I do. Caroline, me, Nihel, I can. Daha, hi Daha, I do. Miriam, I do. Chocolate in the middle of the night. Sarah, I do. Me, yep. Chips affair every night. Perry, when I'm down. Typical me, yep. It's so frustrating, right? It's so frustrating because literally you will spend the whole day being good. You'll spend the whole day following your diet or just following whatever in your mind is the opposite of that, right? Following in your mind what it means to be healthy, what it means not to have junk food, not to have chocolate, not to have sugar. But when it becomes a pattern, when it's every single night, there has to be a reason right? At some point, you try and think of a reason. And if you don't find a reason, because most of us have not been taught that there is actually a very, very logical reason why this happens, we just blame ourselves. But in case you didn't know, this is what's called emotional eating. This is it right there. And if the trademarks of it are, it's mindless, you're just standing at the counter and before you know it, you've eaten the sandwich, or it's more of a binge where before you know it, you've eaten a large quantity. And basically you're doing it to numb or soothe or please, relax, or you reward yourself. But the issue with emotional eating is that and this is where the nutrition piece comes in, it overrides your body's natural hunger cycle. And what ends up happening then is you end up with the original problem, which is you eating when you don't really need to eat. And then whatever issues come out of eating those types of food, whether that's weight gain, inflammation, that can lead to any kind of chronic disease. So you end up with 2 issues instead of 1. But there are only 2 triggers for emotional eating. 2 triggers and 2 triggers only. Your uncomfortable emotions and nutritional deficiencies. Uncomfortable emotions, you know them, right? Every uncomfortable emotion that you have had your entire life, sadness, anger, guilt, fear, resentment, loneliness, rejection, despair, grief, anxiety, revenge, worry, irritation, frustration, disappointment, hopelessness. We've all had those feelings. Those are the emotional triggers. And those are the emotions that look like hunger. And the reason they look like hunger, or the reason you act upon them by eating, because every uncomfortable emotion is a hunger for its opposite. Because what you're actually hungry for is happiness, or acceptance, or hopefulness, inspiration, courage, connection, safety, compassion, encouragement, companionship, positivity, excitement, freedom, joy, love. And because you're not getting those, what you're getting are their opposite feelings. And they're not those feelings, the freedom and the love and the joy and the passion, for whatever reason, are not being fulfilled in your life. They create a void. So you want to fill that void. And you don't know because you've never been taught how to fulfill those emotional needs, or you've never been given a safe space to express your emotional needs because, and believe it or not, this is not a cultural thing specific to Egypt. As women, generally, we've been taught to be good girls, and good girls don't complain or make demands. So you don't express what you really need. You don't say, I'm missing companionship, right? You have to find another way to avoid the discomfort from those emotions. You have to find a way to fill the gap that the discomfort creates. So what do? You eat. You eat because it's not going to solve your problem long term, but it can get you rid of that present discomfort, right? The discomfort of being alone and not having companionship, the discomfort of feeling rejected and not feeling accepted, the discomfort of feeling sad and not having any joy in your life, the discomfort of feeling constantly unsupported instead of feeling encouraged, the discomfort of feeling unseen and unheard instead of feeling connection. It's not simple, complicated discomfort of your daily responsibilities and frustrations, or always worrying that you're just worrying. You just want to stop worrying. You want to feel safe instead of worrying all the time. The discomfort of being disappointed by people, by situations, the discomfort of just not having enough passion in your life. And all of those discomforts create voids, and they're sort of an ache inside you. And you don't want to face the ache. Most of us don't want to face these aches. Most of us don't want to admit that we're alone, or that we're with somebody but lonely, or that you don't have support, or that you don't have love, or that you don't have companionship in the way that fulfills you. So you eat. You don't want to face those consequences. You don't want to, perhaps for you, it's anger that bubbles up every day, resentment and anger just bubbling up, but you're afraid of releasing it. You don't know what's going to happen when you release that, you know, years and years and years of pent up frustration. You're afraid of the reaction you're going to get. Maybe you're finally going to show the real you, and then you're not going to be loved anymore, or you're not going to be understood, or you're going to be left behind. Or maybe you're just faced with a situation that you've never been faced with before. You just don't have the emotional strength to deal with it. So what are you going to do? You're going to eat. I remember the first time that I binged, I was 26. And I remember it because I didn't even know what emotional eating was. And I had never binged before in my life. I was 26, and it was after I had two girls by that time, my little girls. When I was 26, they were 1 and 3. And it was after one of their birthday parties. I don't even know. I don't know what the trigger was. The only thing I remember was it was the night of the party, you know, lots of people, family, friends, kids. And I had put the leftover cake in Tupperware, and I had put it in the fridge. And at the time, you know, way before I became a health coach, I used to make Betty Crocker chocolate cakes with the Betty Crocker chocolate icing, which are pretty delicious. They're really bad for you health-wise, but they're pretty delicious. And we had a lot of cake, put it all in the fridge. And I remember I came down like around 1 a.m., 2 a.m. I don't even remember why I was awake. Mindless, right? And I remember just, you know, like walking around the house, I opened the fridge and I'm like, oh, leftover cake. Oh, all right. I remember, yes, we have leftover cake. And I took out one Tupperware that was filled, and I had like chopped up the cakes into like pieces. And I took a bite and I was like, oh, you know, leftover cake is really good. Took a bite. And I don't remember anything after that. The only thing I remember was from between the first bite and when this was over was that I was looking at an empty, I ate the whole thing. I was looking at an empty Tupperware container, wondering what the hell just happened. And emotional eating can be like that. It can almost be like a blind rage. And I remember thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to explain a whole Tupperware of chocolate cake that just disappeared overnight? I can't remember now, but there must have been something on my mind at the time. There must have been something that upset me. There must have been something that I was carrying around. And finally, I had reached a tipping point and my body was like, just fill up on this. And I did. I was 26 then. And I basically proceeded from the age of 26 until I became a health coach. So we're like talking about 15 years to binge eat at least 10 times a month, at least. Definitely around PMS time, and then a few other times, if not more. But those are the times I can remember. It was regular every single month, and it was always chocolate cake or chocolate bounty bars. Until I became a health coach, and still I didn't really understand the connection. When you become a health coach, we do focus on all the things that make up your health that are not food related. But I didn't think I had a problem. I thought I was like, because I see all the other women and me and my friends always sit and talk about it and we joke about it. And, you know, how many chocolate bars did you have today? And are you PMSing today? And did you eat all the food in the fridge today? You don't think there's anything wrong when everybody's doing it. But as I dove deeper into this, and as I then focused on hormones and I realized where all these connections come from, I stopped. I stopped binging on chocolate when I was PMSing, and I stopped turning to food every time I got upset. And literally, I can tell you the last 3 times that I turned to food for comfort. And they happen when there's a situation, a new situation, or something that is completely out of my control. And I can tell you the dates because it's not just haphazard, and it's just going to happen any day now, or it's going to happen every single time I PMS. Literally in the past almost 2 years, it's only happened 3 times. October 30th, 2020, June 21st, 2021, and October 31st, 2021. It's a process. It takes work. I didn't just go from binging 10, 15, 20 times a month to binging 3 times in 2 years. It's a process. And those times, I'll tell you about those times. October 30th, 2020, some of you who've been with me for a while know, I used to live in Toronto last year or 2 years ago. And on that day, I was moving back, leaving Toronto, coming back to Egypt. And Toronto is one of my most favorite places to live. I go back and forth a lot. And every time I have to come back, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm completely overcome with sadness. And I have to come back, and I know that this is my home. This is where I live. I got to be in Toronto for a year. I knew from the beginning it was going to be temporary. I'm going to go for 1 year, come back. But the feeling that overtakes me is not one that until today I can control or understand. And I remember it was on the plane, as the plane took off, it was just uncontrollable crying. And by the time the lady came around with food, I hardly ever eat airplane food. And I definitely don't eat when they bring the bread. I think I ate like 6 loaves of bread. She would just be coming around like, can I have some more bread? Can I have 2 more things of bread? And I was just like stuffing my face. Here was a situation where I didn't have control. I had to go back. I was leaving a place that I love. I was leaving my daughter also behind. She wasn't moving back with us. And I felt like, you know what? I don't know what else to do in this situation. The second time was June 21st of 2021, last June. I was leading a retreat in Guna, my first ever retreat, which was an incredible success. I was so happy. I had the most amazing group of women. My husband was with me. The retreat was in Guna. And we woke up on the last day of the retreat. The phone rang at 5 a.m. If you've ever traveled alone with your husband and you've left your kids at home, you know that a phone call at 5 a.m. from one of your kids, it was my son, you know that can't be good news. So 5 a.m., it's my son, he's crying on the phone, he's in extreme pain, and he says he's had a stomach ache for 2 days and he didn't want to bother us because he knew that I was on this retreat. Long story short, my husband basically packed up. I didn't know what to do. I still had the last day of the retreat. In 3 hours, I was supposed to lead the ladies in 4 hours of coaching to wrap up their retreat. My husband was like amazing. He like shook me. He's like, look, these ladies came here for a retreat. You need to stay here. I'm going to go see what's going on. Don't worry. It's going to be great. What ended up happening was my son had his appendix taken out. So I missed the operation. I couldn't get a flight back until that night. I had to deliver the retreat as if nothing was wrong. When I got on the plane that night, it's really interesting. All of these stories, all of my crying stories are on airplanes. I start crying again. And when the lady came around with the little box of cookies, I finished that box of cookies before she was even like serving the lady next to me, and just crying nonstop. What can I do in a situation like that? I couldn't think rationally through it. I couldn't process it. I couldn't be there. I had to find some way to comfort myself. The third time was again in an airport. It was October. I was taking my daughter to Milan. She was moving from Toronto to Milan to university, and I had spent 5 weeks with her there. 5 weeks in Milan, ladies, 5 weeks in Italy. And just to give you perspective, I had pasta once. When you learn how food works for you and how it can make you feel good or not make you feel good, it's really easy to make those food choices. But here's why this is significant. I said bye to her. I got into the car to go to the airport. I got through the airport. I'm sitting in the airport waiting to take off, and all of a sudden, literally out of the blue, uncontrollable crying. So, and then obviously, you know, the mini pizzas, the mini focaccias, all the stuff that you can find at an, Italian airport. But that's it. What happens over time is all the other things that I thought before when I was 26, 27, 28, any kind of little upset, my PMS, things that I thought were just horrible in my life and I couldn't manage, and the only way to manage them was through food. There are ways to learn how to get through that. You're never, and my goal is not for you to ever be done with emotional eating. You will never 100% not use food for comfort, never. you will still use food as comfort at a certain point in your life. It's just not going to be your default setting. It's very different when I can recount 3 times in almost 2 years versus 3 times in a week, where you're using it to manage your life. That is what you can change. So your emotions are the way that your emotional intelligence communicates with you. So in each one of those situations, and whatever situation you're finding yourself in right now, your emotional intelligence, this is how it communicates with you, the same way that physical symptoms communicate with you, right? They're letting you know where your attention is needed. And your emotions are always going to do this. And that's why I'm telling you, you're never 100% going to be done with this. We're not trying to override your emotions or make any of them wrong. And as long as you're a living, breathing human, there will be times when you use food to find comfort. There will be times when the only way to find comfort is going to be food. And that's okay. And that doesn't mean you're a failure. And it doesn't mean you don't have willpower. And it doesn't mean that you're useless. We just don't want it to be your default function. All right, ladies. So who's with me? Who agrees that we are humans? We will definitely use food if we need to, but we just don't want it to be our default function. Who's with me on that? Farah says, totally. Perry says, agree. Marwa, totally agree. Sherry, yep, totally agree, agree. Amazing. So out of that list of, and I'll go back and read it to you, these list of emotions, the ones that look like hunger to us, I want you to identify which are the biggest ones for you right now. Sadness, anger, guilt, fear, resentment, loneliness, rejection, despair, grief, anxiety, revenge, worry, irritation, frustration, disappointment, or hopelessness, or if there's anything I missed. Which ones are the ones that are you know that when you feel this feeling, you don't know how to process it, or you're afraid to express it, so you use food? Which ones are they? Dalia, anger, fear, anxiety. Anxiety, worry, stress. Henna, all of the above. Perry, anger, grief, anxiety. Sherry, all of the above. Actually, I'm not even aware of them. Anxiety, loneliness, despair, fear, anxiety, overwhelm, anxiety, anger. All right. So it's really important for you to identify. It's actually okay for you to know while you're eating the chocolate cake that you're eating it because you're very anxious, or you're eating it because you're feeling despair, or you're eating it because you're so angry. I would rather you eat your chocolate cake, stuff it down your face, consciously knowing that you're angry, than for you not to know why you're having it. So if you feel like you don't even know what your emotions are, then your first responsibility is to identify your emotions, because it's not something we're ever taught. Because anytime growing up as a woman, you were about to express something that wasn't joy, you were told to be quiet or to take it somewhere else. So we didn't even have the experience of it, and even just the process of identifying something, an uncomfortable feeling. So it's really important for you to know. Your first step is just to know, identify. But when we have these feelings also, they don't just kind of come out of the blue either. So I want you all to take out a pen and paper, or if you are on your phone, you can do this on your phone also. We're going to do an exercise, another identification exercise, to bring you a little bit closer to understand why. Why are you anxious? Why are you fearful? Why are you stressed? Why are you worried? All right, take a minute to get a pen and paper, and we'll go through this. And let me just read some of your comments. anxiety, anger. Randa says anger, stress, anxiety, anxiety. Duha, overwhelming. Maryam, anxiety, fatigue, and feeling of craving for, hungry. All right. Yeah. All right. Do you all have something to write with? Okay. I want you just to number your paper from 1 to 12. And then I'm going to give you a word for each number. So just number 1 to 12. And then you know what? I will put these in the chat also to make it easier. 1 to 12. Number 1, write social life. Number 2, joy. Number 3, spirituality. Number 4, creativity. 5, finances. 6, career. 7, education. 8, health. 9, physical activity. 10, home cooking. 11, home environment. And 12, relationships. I will put this in the chat also, so that in case any of you missed it. Okay, there it is. Social life, joy, spirituality, creativity, finances, career, education, health, physical activity, home cooking, home environment, and relationships. Okay, the next part of this is we're going to think about each category, and on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, I want you to rate each category based on how satisfied you are with this part of your life or not. All right, I'll walk you through each one. Social life. I want you to think about your social life. Whatever that, and there's no judgment around what any of these categories look like for you. Think about what your social life means to you. Think about, are you happy with the amount of socializing that you do? Do you even need a social life? Are you satisfied with the kinds of friends that you socialize with, or the friends that you have, and how often you see them? Let's say you decide it's about a 7, write down 7. The next one is joy. Do the same thing. How much joy do you feel you have in your life? Is it just enough? Is it too little? It's non-existent? You have a lot of it? You think the joy in your life is the most amazing thing you have? Rate it. Number 3 is spirituality. So spirituality is not about religion per se, and it's not for me to tell you how to be spiritual or religious. What I want you to think about is, do you have an internal peace, or that you know that you can turn to a higher power? There's something bigger than you that you lean on. And to what extent does this higher power exist in your life? Do you lean on it as much as you would like to, or not? Could you have more faith? Could you have more of something that bolsters your life, that is not your friends or your family or your people that you see physically? Number 4 is creativity. So this is not about being creative in the traditional sense, like do you draw, or do you paint, or do you play a musical instrument, or nothing like that. It's about, do you allow the concept of creativity into your life? Do you allow yourself to dress in a creative way? Do you allow yourself to be creative when you set the table? Do you like to plan fun things for yourself or for your family? That's what I mean by creativity. If you are creative in the traditional sense, you can definitely rate that also. Number 5 are finances. Are you happy with your financial situation, or Do you stay awake at night worried about where your next paycheck is coming from or how you're going to cover the bills? Number 6 is career. Whatever it is you happen to be doing. Are you working for someone, or are you a stay-at-home mom, or are you a business owner? Do you wake up in the morning completely excited about what it is that you get to do that day? Or do you drag yourself out of bed every morning to go to a job that, or career, or maybe you're a stay-at-home mom and you hate it, but you do it because it seems like right now you don't have any other option? Maybe you go to a job because it pays well, but you don't love it. You're a stay-at-home mom, maybe because you think you don't have any kind of talent, or you've been a stay-at-home mom for so long, you don't believe that you can do anything. So you just stay at home, but you don't love it. So think about what you do every single day. Are you doing it because you love it and you can't wait to wake up every day to go to work or run your business or be a stay-at-home mom? Or are you doing it just because, whatever your reason is? Your education. How satisfied are you with your education? Whatever it was. Did you study what you wanted to study in college? Or was it something that your parents told you have to study? Are you satisfied with the amount of education you got? Maybe you wanted to go and do higher education, but you haven't. Maybe you wish you could. Rate yourself, how satisfied you are with that. Health. How is your health? Do you feel energetic, vibrant, living on purpose, no physical symptoms, no aches and pains, nothing to complain about? You're able to complete all your daily tasks, plus have time for yourself. That's optimal health. Rate yourself on that. Physical activity. Do you move every day? Lots of trainers and workouts will say work out 3 times a week, work out 4 times a week. Our bodies are actually meant to move every single day, and they're meant to move a lot during the day. So do you mostly move, or are you mostly sitting in a chair or a couch all day long? Number 10 is home cooking. Do you mostly eat fresh, whole foods made at home, or do you mostly eat out or order food at home? If you were to think about the bulk of what you eat every single day, are you feeding your body fresh food that's alive and green and fruits and vegetables, or processed stuff made in a factory? Rate yourself. Number 11 is home environment. Do you love your home? The place where you spend most of your time. Is your home comfortable? Is it tidy? Is it organized? Is it pretty? Or is it cluttered and outdated and messy all the time? Do you love coming home, or do you avoid it? Or do you avoid certain rooms? You just kind of close the door and never go there. And beyond the physical aspect, is your home warm? Is it inviting? Does it feel safe? Or does it feel cold and unsafe? And number 12 are relationships. So your primary relationships, your spouse. For most women, it's our spouse is the primary relationship, but also your parents or your siblings, best friends. Are they mutually supportive? Meaning, do you get as much as you give? Or are you the only one who's always giving, supporting, making time, making allowances, taking care of, thinking of the others, and the other side isn't? Give it a rating. Because when one or more of these areas, these are what we call primary food areas. So when I talked earlier about how food is not just about, your health is not just about the food on your plate, in holistic health, we learned that there's 2 types of food. You have primary food and you have secondary food. Secondary food is what you put in your body, whether it's optimally healthy or not, food, that's secondary. Primary food is all of these things. So when one of these areas, one or more, is missing, like it's just not being fulfilled, or for whatever reason your attention is taken elsewhere and you're ignoring one of these areas, whether on purpose or not, you're going to look to food to fill it. And usually it's not a conscious decision. You're not even aware that my home life is not comfortable. You're not aware that when you walk home, you get really irritated at the clutter and you need to eat to calm the irritation. If you're not mutually supported in your relationships, this is a huge one, right? Not being mutually supported, that's going to lead to loneliness or resentment, which are very uncomfortable. And you don't want to deal with that discomfort. You don't want to face it, so you eat. If you're going to a career, you're going to a job every single day and you hate it, right? Not having a career or passion that fills you up, it's going to leave you depleted, unfulfilled, bored at best, right? Again, it's a kind of discomfort. And if you can't leave this job or you can't figure out what it is that can really fill you up every day and make you forget about time and space, that's a discomfort. You will eat. You will come home at the end of the day, being in a job that sucked the life out of you, and you're going to open the fridge to find a way to make up for that. So let me know in the comments, which one of these, which one, or maybe more than one, is the one area that you're not giving enough attention to, or it's not getting enough attention from you? Which one of these areas, now that you can connect your emotions and now you have awareness around how your emotional intelligence works, which is the one that's creating a void that you feel you're filling with food? Let me know in the comments. Is it your relationship, your career, your home environment, your health? Which one is it for you? Nihal, social life and physical activity. Yep, Randa, physical activity and social life. So those are two different types of energies, right? So the energy you get from people and the energy you get from moving your body are lacking. Physical activity, health, creativity. So Delia says physical activity, health, creativity. Sara, social life, relationship, finances, relationship. So it's not about your willpower. It's not that you are weak in front of the chocolate cake. It's not about that you don't know how to control yourself. It's about a perfect storm, right? I'm going to get to that. It's about you having a day filled with voids. Things that you are being, vital pieces of your health are not being fed on the emotional level. That's one piece of the puzzle. But then that brings us to the second reason emotional eating exists, and that's nutritional deficiencies. So we know that you're not happy in your relationship. You're not getting enough physical activity. Your house is cluttered. You feel creative and there's no way for you to release or to express that creativity, right? That's all working. It's working in your mind. It's on an emotional and mental level. Physically, then what happens? If you're not feeding your body physically nutrient-dense foods that literally go into your cells to provide the energy for your life and that keep you healthy and so that you don't get sick, you then have the physical symptoms of fatigue, irritation, not being able to sleep, uncomfortable periods, the headaches, the weak immune system, dizziness, muscle pain, joint pain, anxiety, depression. So what happens is, by the time you find yourself standing in your kitchen, making yourself that bread and cheese or going for that stash of chocolate is a perfect storm. You've spent the whole day exhausted, sad, resentful, tired, achy, eating the foods that are not full of nutrients, right? Eating the foods, and I'm going to give you the list now, the processed foods that don't have any nutrients. So your body is physically hungry. Your cells are not being fed. So you're emotionally depleted and then you're physically depleted, and you come at the end of the day and your body's like, right, it's time for us to check all the boxes before you sleep. Are you emotionally fulfilled? Nope. She didn't get the love. She didn't get the understanding. She didn't get the support. She didn't get the encouragement. She didn't get the passion. Nope, none of that happened today. Okay, well, what about nutrition? Did she get the vitamins? Did she get the minerals? Did she get the micronutrients? Did she get the enzymes? No, she didn't get those either. So what happens? The body's like, we need to be fed. You interpret that signal as a craving. You interpret it as, I need to fill up because I have been so depleted all day, even though you don't even realize that you've been depleted all day. Depleted because your emotional needs haven't been met, and depleted because your physical needs haven't been met. When you are eating nutritionally depleted foods, your body is going to be giving you the hunger signal until it's fed properly. And that has nothing to do with willpower. And that has nothing to do with your control. That's a basic biochemical reaction. Your body's always going to give you the signal that it's not being fed. We just interpret that signal incorrectly. So what are the foods that when you're eating them keep you what we call nutritionally deplete? I'm going to give you the list of the worst foods, right? That when you are consuming them on a regular basis, even if you're having massive quantities, your body and your cells and your body's systems are hungry and they're starving. You might want to write these down. Alcohol, caffeine, processed oils like corn oil, sunflower oil, canola oil, sugar in all its form, wheat in all its forms, dairy, eggs, soy, junk food. If you are mostly eating these foods every single day, and like I said, if you're eating a whole pot of pasta on your own, your body's still starving. Because of these, the worst two are the wheat and the sugar, because they're addictive. So any kind of processed white sugar, the white stuff, brown sugar, corn syrup, that is highly, highly, highly addictive. And it just keeps you wanting more. And it creates an imbalance in your hormones. And guess what you go to when you're sad or upset? Believe it or not, bread is sugar and cheese is sugar. So it's not like you're going for bread and cheese. You're actually, that's what your brain wants. It wants sugar, it wants fuel because you're depleted all day. Obviously, when you go for chocolate, that's sugar. Wheat is the other one because wheat turns into sugar. So when you eat a piece of white bread or a piece of brown bread or a piece of beledi bread, when you eat a sandwich, it's just like eating a piece of cake. The sugar in that wheat is the equivalent of the sugar in a piece of cake and a cookie and a croissant and a chocolate bar. So you're consuming sugar that creates an addiction. And you create that pattern that when I'm upset, this is what I'm having: the bread, the cheese, the chocolate, the chips. You create literally a neural pathway that's programmed in your brain that that's what's going to happen. And that's why it becomes really difficult to break. But when you're consuming sugar and wheat and dairy and all of these foods on a regular basis, also, you're creating, again, there's a biochemical process in your body, a biochemical addiction that takes over that you have nothing to do with. That's it. It's taken over your body because sugar will light up your pleasure centers in your brain 8 times more than cocaine will. So it's highly addictive. So you breaking out of that cycle is not just about willpower. It's not just about, I'm going to zip up my mouth. It's about understanding that there's a very, very powerful biochemical addiction coupled with emotional intelligence, emotional needs not being met. And you subconsciously having to fulfill a void that's there. And because you've never been taught how, you use food. And you use the one that you're just addicted to all the time because it's easier. So let me know in the comments, ladies, how many of these foods do you have on a regular basis? So bread, all the bread, white, brown, beledi, and all sorts of wheat. So pasta, cakes, cookies, cupcakes, cereals, all the dairy, yogurt, cheese, milk, eggs, junk food. How many of these do you have? Caffeine, alcohol. A lot of women like to wind down with a glass of wine. A lot of women can't start their day without their caffeine. Marwa, caffeine, sugar, wheat, sherry, sugar, 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 wheat, junk, nihal. For me, all of them. Mariam, caffeine, sugar, and sugar. Randa, bread, cheese, pasta. Sara, caffeine, junk food, wheat, sugar. Hannah, eggs, dairy, wheat, sugar. Aya, pizza, and chocolates. All right, so you don't know it, and it's not your fault. Like, you don't know what you don't know until you know it. And this is how we all were. But it keeps you addicted. And this addiction, which is completely out of your power until you get the awareness around it, it keeps you in this cycle. These foods just keep strengthening the chemical addiction, and they keep wanting more and more and more. And like I said, every time it's a knee-jerk reaction that you use them for comfort, you strengthen that neural pathway. It becomes automatic. But these foods are also so low in nutrients that when you mostly consume them on a daily basis, you're so, like I said, nutrient deficient. So even if you had a very, very happy day, all of your emotional needs were met, but you spent the whole day eating bread and cheese and pasta, at the end of the day, there's a nutritional deficiency there. And your body's going to give you a signal that we haven't been fed properly today, because there's no vitamins or minerals or live enzymes or live minerals, or there's nothing. And those are what we call dead foods. So if every day, that's what you're eating, and you find yourself at night specifically, even though you just ate a couple of hours ago, you still need to eat. It's not because you're just like, I have to eat, or like there's something wrong with you. You're not a cow, you're not gluttonous. It's because your body is still hungry. It's going to keep knocking from the inside out that it hasn't been fed high nutrient density foods. So you have the perfect storm at nighttime. And that's why it always happens at nighttime, mostly. All the pressures of your day reaching a peak, your body crying out because it hasn't been fed, and you interpret the hunger for nutrients as a craving. And your emotional discomfort is crying out for comfort. Bring it in. Bring in the chocolate, bring in the bread, bring in the cheese. So we have to understand, and we have to get to the root cause of both discomforts, the physical and the emotional. You have to learn to navigate this discomfort. You have to get to the root cause. You have to learn how to relieve the discomfort in a way that doesn't involve food. And you have to build a new foundation for your body physically using nutrition. Any questions or comments or breakthroughs, women, ladies? Let me know, please, in the comments. Caffeine, yogurt, and eggs, why are they harmful? Yogurt is dairy, so all dairy contains hormones. And if you're talking about women who are going through hormonal shifts, we've reached a tipping point with our own hormones. We can't afford to take in the hormones of another animal. Same thing for the eggs. Eggs are like a hormonal control center. Amina, how about rice and potatoes? Are they also sugar or acceptable? Potatoes are a wonderful source of natural sugar. So what people do is they remove or avoid the natural sources of sugar, like all the fruits and all potatoes, and then instead have all of the sources of processed sugar, like bread, cheese, and pasta. What you want, and rice. So what you want are the natural unprocessed sources of sugar. So yes, potatoes are great. Caroline, how about oats and oat milk? So oat milk is a great substitute for dairy. Oats, however, are still a grain and can turn into sugar in the body. So it's something that you would, once you go through a process of elimination and taking out all the foods that are, really not serving your body, and learning how to eat in a way that does serve the body, oats are one of those things that you can experiment with to see to what extent you can eat them without having any kind of a reaction. Mariam, I don't eat all day. Okay, Mariam, it was chocolate for you, right? She doesn't eat all day.
At night.
Right. So she doesn't eat all day at all. So what do you think is going to happen? The reason we eat, and we have mistakenly been taught that our appetite is a problem. That if you have an appetite and you want to eat, there's something wrong with you. Your appetite is the way that your body tells you it needs fuel. The reason we eat is because food is fuel. Your body's made up of something like 100 trillion cells. Every single part of your body, every single organ in your body is made up of trillions of cells. They can't function without fuel, gasoline. You think of your body as an engine. Think of your body as a car. Can your car go anywhere if you don't put gasoline in your car? It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to go very far, and it's not going to be very efficient. So think of your body in exactly the same way. So when you haven't eaten all day, your body is, and your cells specifically, are literally trying to power through so that they can just complete their basic functions to keep you alive. So at the end of the day, the body's super smart and the body keeps track. At the end of the day, it's like, okay, the day's almost over and it's almost bedtime and there's already a deficit. She's going to go to sleep with this deficit and we're going to wake up tomorrow with a deficit. Give out all the signals that you can. We need her to eat. She needs to eat. You just interpret that signal as a craving. And because sugar is the body's fuel, you get a sugar craving, but we just eat the wrong sugar. Hannah, how do we replace these foods with the more nutritionally dense options and with juicing fruits and veggies out? So this is what I help you do in my program. So I'm going to talk about that later. You don't need to confuse yourself as to how you're going to do that. I'll tell you exactly how to do that. And how to have healthy snacks for stressful social situations. Would nuts help? Nuts are definitely a great replacement. Fruits are always a great replacement. Doha, what about tapioca, arrowroot, millet, and buckwheat as a flour substitute? Yes, so these are definitely not wheat, so they're gluten-free. So when you have them, you are going to obviously avoid all the symptoms that can happen when you consume wheat. So yes, those are definitely your substitutes. So we've covered a lot today. We've covered a lot and really only touching on the surface. Your circle of life, which is the exercise we just did, those 12 points, is so that you can see. So you have kind of a visual of where you might be subconsciously using food. And we've pinpointed your actual uncomfortable emotions that are creating discomfort for you, and you're just trying to get rid of that discomfort. You're trying to replace the discomfort of those emotions by using food so that you have a temporary present comfort. And now you know that nutrition is a key piece because you need to break out of those addictions, and that your current way of eating is keeping you in the cycle out of no fault of your own. And that's why conventional diets don't work, and they will never work because they don't address any of this, right? The thing is, we need to feel. We need to start being comfortable with the uncomfortable feelings. We need to sit with the anxiety, with the worry, with the stress, with the sadness. Like I said, sit with it while you're having your chocolate and be conscious that you're sad or that you're very anxious or that you're very worried is one thing versus trying to stuff it and ignore it. We don't want to ignore them anymore. We don't want to downplay them anymore. Because when you do that, that's when you turn to the food to buffer them. Right? Because you know why we all do it. Like I said before, somewhere along the way, somebody said the message was you need to be happy and look happy and act happy all the time, or else something is wrong with you. Right? Because if you express anger or frustration or dissatisfaction or sadness, you might come across as disagreeable in some way. So we want to start to learn a long-term solution for this. And processing our emotions is a huge part of becoming emotionally mature. So as long as we're stuffing our emotions, this is a type of emotional immaturity that we all have to go through. We need to get from being emotionally immature to being emotionally mature. But again, it's not something that anybody talks about, but it is part of how you create health. Same way that you create physical health, you need to create emotional maturity. You raise your awareness that whatever you're feeling that people have labeled as negative, it's not negative. No such thing as a negative feeling and a positive feeling. They're all feelings and they all serve different purposes. And getting to that level of emotional maturity is understanding that, you know what, I'm feeling sad because I'm in a career that I hate. And it's not like I'm just feeling sad for the sake of feeling sad. I'm going to process that. Let me figure out a way to navigate this. Not by buffering and then waking up every day and keeping myself in that cycle. You get to become powerful with your body, both physically and both with your emotions, to get you out of the vicious cycle. You can learn to control how you let your reactions, how you react to the situations that your emotions are showing you. This is where you need your attention. So how many of you are excited about what we just talked about? And how many of you can, with the little bit of information I've given you, even though it feels like a lot, how many of you are excited by the potential that you see for yourself? At the very least, how many of you are a little bit kinder to yourselves today after learning this? Put it in the chat. Mariam, yes. Hannah, yes. Marwa, I am. How many of you are like, okay, I'm going to identify the emotions. I'm going to identify the areas of my life. I want to process my emotions. What do I do? How many of you are like, okay, what do I do now? Type yes if you want to know what to do next. Caroline, not sure I can. Yes, you can, to answer your question. Nihal, yes. Hannah, yes. Doha, yes. Mariam, yes. I love it. All right. One more exercise, ladies. I want you to close your eyes again for me, please. Close your eyes. And I want you to think, and I want you to consider, if you began truly believing that you, and only you, have the power to take back control over your cravings and your health. And that truly, just because every single woman you know can't control her cravings, doesn't mean that you can't, right? So I want you to truly believe that you have the power to take back control over your cravings. Knowing, like what I said earlier, we will never be 100% free of using food as comfort. That's not realistic. That's not what I'm asking you. But I want you to believe that you have the power to at least change it from being your default setting. All right? Believe that. And then I want you to understand how your emotions are triggered. So if you were to truly understand what's triggering your emotions and how food creates the imbalances in your hormones that then feed your cravings and keep you in this cycle, and then you become very, very conscious of this cycle, then you follow what I showed you in terms of the actual foods, and you remove the foods that keep you in this cycle, and you remove the foods that trigger the cravings and the hormonal imbalances. And then you start to eat all the incredibly healing and rebalancing foods daily. And you take conscious note of your feelings daily. And you learn certain techniques to unlearn your programming that taught you how to use food for comfort. Do you think you could be successful? Do you think you can reach your health goals? And do you think you can build your self-confidence and power around your cravings and your emotions and your health? Let me know in the comments. Yes. Marwa Nabil, hell yes. Maryam, yes. Doha, definitely. Hannah, yes, I'm optimistic. Neha, not easy, but doable. Spot on. It's not easy. We're not going to pretend this process is easy. It's not easy, but it's simple. There's a huge difference between something being difficult and something being easy. It's not easy, but it's simple. All right. So do you see the possibility? I want you to see your possibility. And I know I've been there. And some of you here are my clients. I know you've all been there. I know you've tried a lot of different things. And I know you've gone through the process of having your hopes sort of, like brought all the way up here and then having it all crash when something doesn't work. And I know you follow a lot of conflicting advice, and maybe you just weren't clear. Maybe you never understood the connection between your emotional health, your emotional intelligence, and your physical health, because nobody ever told you that there was a connection, or nobody ever even told you or mapped out this possibility for you. But you have to be able to see it before you do anything. And that's what I want you to do now. I want you to see yourself in a situation where you would automatically go for your chocolate. Maryam, every night, going for my chocolate, going for my chocolate. I want you to visualize one night where you don't go for the chocolate, where you don't go for the bread and cheese. You have to be able to see yourself. You have to be able to see your potential. You have to be able to visualize yourself healed from this. Visualize it. But the uncomfortable truth is, unfortunately, is that you're sitting here right now. You have all this new information. You have the new ideas that you can apply, but obviously nothing has actually changed, right? The chocolate is still in your cupboard, Maryam. The bread and cheese are still in everybody's fridge. I'm guessing everybody has like Ramadan desserts lying around. You have the information, but you still have your sugar cravings right now. You still have your uncomfortable feelings. They're still there. So this is the point where you have to decide, now what? Now that I know, what am I going to do about it? And what happens if I do nothing? And think about what didn't work for you in the past and why didn't it work for you in the past. Was it a conventional diet? Like I said, doesn't take your emotions into consideration, doesn't take biochemical addiction into consideration. Did you not have enough support before? Did you have the right information, but you didn't implement? So get really honest with yourself and put it in the chat. Why do you think in the past something got in your way? Not knowing, not realizing that you even had an option to control your emotional eating. Maybe that was that. Put it in the chat. And let me know. Yep. Restrictive diets are not sustainable. After all, it gets tiring and boring, no matter the wonderful results. So the issue with what we call restrictive diets, right, is that if they don't take into account basically the biochemical addiction, and because they're called a diet. So going on something that has a beginning and an end, it has a time frame, automatically puts you in a state of, I only have to do this for this short period of time. I only have to power through this for a short period of time. So the issue with those diets is what they're called, is what they imply, and where the goal with any diet is just a number on the scale. So that's all you're going for. So it doesn't take into account your emotions, doesn't take into account the emotional triggers, doesn't take into account your hormones, doesn't take into account the connection between all of these pieces, right? Caroline, because giving up is easier than persistence. It is in the moment, but I'm going to invite you to think about that in a different way. What's going to be easier long term? Everything is a challenge. Everything is hard. So like I said, this is not easy. So changing how you eat, whether you're doing that for your emotional, your emotional health, whether you're doing that because you have a physical condition, which is painful, it's all hard. And changing how you eat is hard. And changing a lifestyle is hard. But here's the thing, you get to choose. Staying where you are is hard. It looks like it's easy right now because you don't have to do anything. But staying in the discomfort of a habit that's not serving you, or staying in a body that is aching and painful and full of symptoms, that's really hard. Making the change is also really hard. But here's the thing. When you choose to stay without making a change, nothing improves. You stay in the difficulty of the pain. When you choose the challenge of making a change, yes, it's hard, 100%. But at the end of it, you're symptom-free. You're not sick. You're off medications. You're not turning to chocolate every single night. You're a completely brand new transformed person who is going to go through the rest of her life in a completely healed and transformative way versus choosing to stay where you are. So I'm going to invite you to look at it that way. Marwa, feeling that I'm never good enough to succeed in beating my craving. That's because you don't understand where the craving is coming from. That's because if all you've ever used before is just sheer mental willpower to not eat cake or to not open that bag of chips, not understanding where those emotional, the bubbling emotions, the trapped emotions, the emotions just have to surface. If you don't understand that process, you will feel that you're not good enough because you're measuring it from a different place. But when you understand and when you grasp how your emotional intelligence works, that makes you super powerful. And then it's okay when you cry on a plane and the whole plane watches you while you eat 6 things of bread and you don't care. And that feels powerful to me, that I can cry on a plane and let go of the emotions that need to be released and find comfort in the food. I never feel weak because of that. I'm like, this is it. This is just how it is right now. That's what I need right now. Gina, I'm on hormonal treatment, which causes hunger. It does. You're absolutely right. But Gina, I have worked with lots of women, breast cancer survivors who are on hormonal treatment, and we have managed to completely overcome this and completely overcome the hunger that comes with the hormonal treatment. So there's a solution for that also. Mariam, self-control of my cravings. Again, this goes back to you're trying to control. You're not understanding where the cravings are coming from. Especially in your case, Mariam, your body's starving. As soon as you start to feed your body, like just basic nutrition, so that your body stops giving you the hunger signals, you're going to be done with it. Hannah, self-sabotage and some social bullying of being over Ewi when I talk about how I'm not eating this stuff from my health and autoimmune issues. Unfortunately, nobody's going to understand when you make this change because it's so far removed from what's considered normal in society. That's not about you. You always have to remind yourself in these situations that it's about the people in front of you. You're actually triggering their insecurity. You're showing them that you have the strength and the power to go against everything that you've ever been told and to go against everything that everybody's eating and do something that's singular and different for yourself. That reminds them that they don't have that courage. So what happens to a lot of people is it's like you're kind of scratching a scab that they have. They kind of have to lash out at you. So have some kindness for the people who speak to you that way, because it's the way that it's a kind of a self-preservation thing for themselves. Has nothing to do with you, has everything to do with their own insecurity. Delia, self-sabotage kicks when my guard is down. So Delia, we need to pinpoint and be ahead of when your guard is down. You need to look at the patterns. My guard is down on such and such days. My guard is down when, like for me, like I can predict now airplanes, right? Like I know it's going to happen on an airplane. Chances are high. So you need to see what you need to identify your pattern and be ahead of it. So maybe the next time I'm on an airplane, I know I'm going to be sad. I know I'm going to cry for whatever reason. I take snacks with me, right? Instead of chugging down on the horrible airplane food, I'm still going to need some kind of comfort. So I'll have something as a backup with me. That'll be the first thing to do once you identify the pattern. Caroline, more diets equals more restrictions in addition to, daily duties and responsibilities. This makes food the only outlet or the only thing I can do without putting extra restrictions on myself. So again, we go back to the word diet, right? Diet equals restriction. When you start, and that's very much what we call the diet mindset, right? Diet culture. So diet culture emphasizes that you are restricting yourself in order to get a result, versus creating a lifestyle. We emphasize that if we remove something, it's to create opportunity for your health. We're not restricting for the sake of restricting. We're removing and we're creating an opportunity for health. So you start by getting rid of the diet mindset and you replace it with a healing mindset. That's where that comes in. Hiba, I'm so strict with myself that I hardly eat or eat in those small dessert bowls. If I eat, I feel terribly guilty. I haven't had one Ramadan dessert all month because mentally I feel so guilty. Everyone makes fun of the way I eat. Although my clean eating was my life savior, yet my weight gain, if you remember, is due to my health struggle. Yes. Hiba has something very specific. And steroids treatment that ends up throwing all the weight loss process out the window. It's terribly demotivating for me, but I'm not giving up. Your comment is I want to give it the attention it deserves, and there's a lot to talk about here, and I just don't have the time to go through every single word really, but I'm going to invite you to look at how you're talking. If the words that you use are really important, if you're in your own conversations with yourself, you're using the words strict and restriction and guilty and mentally guilty. If that's the way, those are the words on repeat in your head, you are literally setting yourself up for the self-sabotage. Because why would your brain and your body get on board with something that you refer to as restrictive, as strict? Basically, it sounds like you're in a prison. So at some point, you're going to want to break out of this prison. So again, this is where mindset comes back. Reem, eating in general has become a challenge as I have a large scope of food sensitivities, including soy, gluten, dairy, legumes. I'm also worried about the potential for diabetes as it runs in my family. I also work on film sets a lot where the food is catered and it's very stressful. Quite hard to prepare meals in advance as it's a 16-hour day schedule, so no time or energy to prepare or pack my own food. So Reem, let me comfort you by letting you know that nobody needs soy. Nobody needs gluten and nobody needs dairy. And everybody, whether they do a test or not, are going to have a sensitivity to these foods. So it's not, you're not special in that respect, right? It's actually a good thing for you that your tests have showed you that soy and gluten and dairy are not good for you. You're not missing anything. That's what I'm trying to say. You're not missing anything. These are foods that create disease in the body, and the gluten especially will create sugar addiction, and gluten especially is at the root cause. And if you're worried about diabetes, gluten equals diabetes because gluten is sugar. So you're actually really lucky that you have concrete information that these foods don't work for you. I'm going to also catch a thought for you here. You say it's quite hard to prepare meals in advance. You've already decided it's hard. You've told your brain, you've given your brain the instruction. So every single time you come to prepare a meal in advance, it's going to feel really difficult. It's going to feel like a struggle. It's going to be really hard, and you're not going to do it. So this is where we do a lot of mindset work. So I'm going to invite you, instead of thinking it's really hard to prepare meals in advance, I want you to think, oh my God, I get to prepare my meals in advance. Change the energy around that. I get to prepare my meals in advance. and see what happens. Mandy, I have been eating all sorts of unhealthy food since COVID started. I am constantly stressed and thus my stomach and digestive system suffer. Yeah, so COVID was a huge, this is a perfect example of something totally new. A situation none of us have had to deal with before. We didn't know how to deal with it. It literally affected all of those 12 areas of our lives. So everybody turned to food at some point in COVID. Everybody did. Nothing has gone wrong here, Mandy, right? But now that we're coming out of it, and now you have that awareness around it, and you're feeling it in your stomach and your digestive system, this is when it's time for you to make a decision, right? Time to make a decision. So I promised you, I'm mindful of our time here. I promised you at the beginning of the call that I would take some time to show those of you who want transformation, those of you who want to take back control of their cravings, who want to take back control of their health, how you can do that. So if that's okay with you, I want to share details of my new program, End Emotional Eating. All right. Here is how End Emotional Eating works. The End Emotional Eating program is a 4-week online group program. I love doing group programs because you get to have the energy and the support and the accountability of other women going through the same journey with you. So this is a group program. You're not by yourself. In those 4 weeks, each week, we're going to focus on a specific topic related to your emotional health, to help you reduce, whether that's nighttime cravings, whether that's just you use food for comfort all the time. So here are the different topics for each week. Week 1, the topic is you can end emotional eating. Week 2, ways to heal your soul. Week 3, massive self-care rituals and letting go of stress. Week 4, we're going to talk about balancing your chakras. And then we actually also have a bonus week 5. So actually it's a 5-week program. And within each module, you're going to get a guide that explains that topic. And you're going to have specific homework recommendations that you're going to do day by day, week by week. And then on top of that, we're going to use techniques like journaling, affirmations, emotional freedom technique, meditations, oils, and of course, nutrition, right? Because we, like I said, can't just work on the emotional without working on the physical. So I'm going to show you exactly how you cut out wheat and dairy and sugar and soy, caffeine, processed foods. I'll show you exactly how to do that so that you can be free of the biochemical addiction, because that's what these foods do. They create this addiction that takes over so that you stay in the cycle. So we have to break the cycle. And I give you the meal plans. And for this program, I'm giving you 2 options. You can either choose a vegan meal plan, meaning there's no animal products at all, or you can choose an omnivore plan, which does include animal products. When you join the program, you get to choose whichever one you want to do. And then every week, you're going to get a meal plan based on the plan that you chose to do. Whether that's vegan or omnivore. So you're going to get the eating schedules, you're going to get the recipes, you're going to get the shopping list for each week. So there's very little work for you to do beyond making the food. You don't have to think about the food combinations. You have the set schedules for you. And for those of you who have done my programs before, this is a clean eating program. It's not a deep detox like my 21-day hormone detox. So it is a more even, slower paced, clean eating program, because my 21-day detox hormone is very, very deep detox. It's just nutrition. We don't talk about any of the other stuff. And it's really geared towards when you have a lot of uncomfortable hormonal symptoms and you need relief from that quickly. But for this program, there's going to be a lot of mindset work. There's going to be journaling. There's going to be mindset work. There's going to be affirmation. There's going to be a lot of thinking and feeling. So my intention was not to also put a deep detox in that, but to give you a clean eating program that's going to keep you full. It's so important that you be full, right? It's so important that you eat, and it's important that you eat enough, and it's important that you eat enough and a lot of the right foods to break you out of those biochemical addictions, so that your body stops having to give you signals that it's hungry, because you interpret those signals as the sugar cravings. So it's a simplified clean eating program. And None of my programs ever are about starving or deprivation or counting calories. It's not keto, it's not intermittent fasting. I don't do any of that because those eventually all create imbalances in the body. So I give you the plans, I give you the recipes, I give you the shopping lists, and every week you're going to get a meal plan on top of the weekly topic that you're going to have. And all of this happens inside a closed Facebook group. We're going to kick off the program with a 2-hour coaching call like this one, where I will explain the process in detail, talk exactly about how the topics are going to follow one and another, and where I take all of your questions. I coach you, basically. On top of that, inside the group, I'm available 5 days a week to answer all of your questions. I post every single day, whether that's inspirational posts, and more importantly, accountability posts, to make sure that you are following along and doing what you need to do in order to see the results that you want to see. All right. So even though this is a group program, I really pride myself on always being there for my clients during my working hours. You get my 100% support during the journey. So when you're in the group, it's as if you're working with me one-on-one. You get my eyes and my ears on you for the full 5 weeks. You get every single question answered, you get every single concern addressed. It's my job to see your blind spots so I can help you see what needs to be adjusted as you go through this journey of beginning to reduce your emotional cravings and your need for comfort foods. All right. The investment is $197 or the equivalent in Egyptian pounds. And the deadline to join is Thursday. So this Thursday, you only have 4 days to sign up. I am going to share the sign up link with you in the chat right now. You can go ahead and copy that or sign up for that right now. One moment. Right there. I'm also, tomorrow morning, I'm going to send you a replay of the class with all the details of the program again and the link to sign up again. So any last minute questions, ladies? I have one more question for you. Who is committed to getting out of the cycle of eating at night, using food every single time you're sad or angry or tired, and who's committed to becoming powerful in their body? Type yes. That sounds great. Mandy says, but timing is critical for me. What do you, the only thing you have to attend, or like where there's like a group event, is the group call, and that's recorded and available for replay. So if you can't attend that call live, you can always catch the replay. Farah, great strategy and program plan. I love that you love it, Farah. I can't wait to work with you. Mariam, I registered the 21 detox program. Yes, you did. Can I change it to this one, please? I think it's more adapted to me. Yes, Mariam, can you please send me an email? Let me just, I want to just have a little chat with you. I just want to make sure we're not looking at other symptoms, and then we can, I know you feel this one is better for you and probably your gut is right, but I just want to make sure that it's the better one for you. So please email me so we can have a little chat about your health, the state of your health. All right. You're welcome, Farah. Yes. When does the program start? Great question. The program starts May 8th. So after the holidays, Sunday, May 8th. Randa says committed. Hannah says heck yes. Mandy, I want to travel in a month. I want both. Still time is of the essence. All right. Amina, thank you so much. See you in the course. Amazing. Marwa, is it a daily program? So you're going to get 1 module per week, Marwa, and each module is going to give you broken down by daily assignments, if you want to call it that. And I'm in the group every single day during the week, communicating with you, asking you questions, coaching you. So yeah, where you don't have to be in the Facebook group. There are no set times, if I'm understanding your question correctly. You get to be in the group whenever you want to. So you get to come in the group at your own convenience to see what I've been posting, to ask your question, etc. Reem, thank you. I'm already in the Ramadan detox. Yes, I will join later in a few months. Amazing. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me today. I have had absolute pleasure and honor to have spent this time with you. As you know, and I say this every single time, you all inspire me and push me to be a better coach. And I can't wait to work with all of you at some point, whether this program or the 21-day detox or any of the other 2 hormone healing series. I can't wait to help you all overcome whatever challenges you have so you can become powerful in your health and in your body and in yourself. If you have any questions at all, please email me. Otherwise, there's the link. I'll see you in the program. Thank you, ladies.